What's up, everyone? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron, and today we're going to be checking out the new album Take Me Back to Eden by the band Sleep Token. Sleep Token is a alternative, progressive, post-indie pop metal band from England. Honestly, it all depends on what song you listen to. You're going to get a different type of genre, or you're going to get a mixture of genres. And Take Me Back to Eden is their third studio album since they formed in 2016. I did a review on their first and second album, Sundowning and This Place Will Become Your Tomb. Both are pretty different from each other, but at the same time, really similar. They have their heavy moments and they have their more emotional, atmospheric kind of moments. One is just a little bit more than the other, but they're both great. The vocalist, his name is Vessel, or at least that's the name of the character that's portrayed within the concept that is this band. He worships a deity who is known as Sleep. And from what I've gathered, I believe that Sleep is viewed in almost a romantic, alluring kind of way. And Vessel and the other band members who are named 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are here to deliver Sleep's message and their worship to Sleep, I guess you could say. And they go in depth in the emotions and just their desire to get closer to this deity and to please him and to just really understand him more. I believe that Sleep came to Vessel in a dream and he's just been constantly chasing after it ever since. And yeah, I feel like this is probably the last installment in this trilogy. I believe it's a trilogy. Not completely sure. I'm sure they're going to have a fourth album, which is just going to continue it. And yeah, it's basically just their worship music. So let's hear some worship music to Sleep. The album opens up with the song Chokehold, which was the first single release for this album. And it's Vessel's devotion to Sleep. And in the same way that a significant other would say, you know, like, you and me were made for each other, Vessel is basically saying that him and Sleep's relationship, or the band and Sleep's relationship, is more like a chokehold. And he also pleads for guidance just to get closer to him. It starts off with some strong vocals, electronic piece. The chorus adds a quick drum beat to it and explodes with a buzzing guitar riff. And verse 2 has kind of a smoother vibe to it as Vessel is proclaiming his loyalty to Sleep. And then we have the song The Summoning, which is an absolutely wild ride. It comes in heavy, and the vocals have a little bit more of an intensity, a little bit more of an urgency to them. The chorus is euphoric with the vocal layerings and has a beautiful rhythm to it. It goes right into a chuggy pre-chorus complete with squeals and stuff. And there's like this fluttery guitar solo before chorus 2, which is a really nice touch. Wasn't expecting it. I believe it's like the only guitar solo on this album, and it's absolutely beautiful. And then there's like a minute and a half interlude thing where you don't really know where it's going to go, and then randomly the song just gets really funky and really groovy with the hi-hat forward drum passage, and the guitar and synth mixed together remind me a little bit of Pink Floyd's Come Have a Cigar. It's just got a really good groove to it. And like I was saying, Sleep seems kind of alluring, a little evasive, and granted really goes over the toxicity within this relationship and the frustration and tension. It's implied that one side of the party doesn't really want to talk about these issues in verse 1 that has a really colorful melody to it and breathy vocals. All this becomes a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more intense as it goes into the chorus. An effect comes in on the vocals, kind of gives it robotic sort of sound in verse 2, and then a sledgehammer of a guitar comes in, making the final chorus just hit really hard. And then we have the song Aqua Regia, I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's a chemical mixture that translates into royal liquid because of its ability to melt gold. It's got a pretty ascending melody thanks to the synth and the piano. The vocal delivery gives us kind of like a poppy theatrical presentation. The instrumental is basically just all piano, which is beautiful, and it has a ballroom-esque atmosphere to it. I think this is one of their more ambitious and bravest pieces of music they've ever written, and to me it really pays off. I think this is a great song. It's probably one of the best and probably one of the most underrated on this album. Vore is kind of a weird song as it's short for vorophilia, which is an erotic attraction to being eaten, but not really like in a cannibalistic sort of way, more in like a being swallowed whole sort of way. It has a fantastic verse, heavy distorted vocals that sound amazing, addicting drums, followed by cleans in the pre-chorus with like a stringed part, almost sounds like a lute. The chorus has a really good hook that I couldn't get enough of. It flows seamlessly back into verse 2, and the refrain is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, this might be one of their most perfect songs that they've ever written. I love the lute. I love the heaviness they bring. It's just, like I said, it's a little weird, the vocals. You know, I mean, in the lyrics, he talks about, you know, being swallowed whole. They don't really hold back on this. But then we have questionably one of my favorite songs that they've ever written, Ascensionism, which is a really interesting track as it doesn't have any actual chorus to it. It's basically just an intro, 4 verses, a bridge, and then an outro. And it's also the second longest track on this album, coming in just barely over 7 minutes. It's got a pretty piano, very vulnerable vocals. The verses are a little bit more pop inspired, and they sound great with Vessel's vocal delivery and just his cadence. I love how his vocals don't really ever sit behind the mix. They're always out in front. And when you get these more poppy style things or indie-ish kind of style music over it or with it, they just really power through. The peak for this song is in the bridge, which is epic as hell, and it finishes off with a strong breakdown. I mean, the lyrics in this are also very, I don't know, they're very touching. I really felt just the message that Vessel was trying to get through to me in his worship to sleep in this song. Are You Really Okay is one of the most heartfelt songs that this band has ever written. Even though it's based within the concept, it still works actively outside of that. I love the clean guitar in verse 1. It reminds me a little bit of like a cross between Led Zeppelin's Over the Hills and Far Away and Going to California. It just has a little bit of a mixture of the two of those. The song is just really touching as he's asking someone who is self-harming, or even he's asking himself as he's self-harming, if he's really okay. And the sincerity in the song is just it's just so very real. Vessel has great vocals for getting this message across as well. Then we have the song The Apparition, which has strong vocals and a really good guitar melody that play off of each other. The refrain has a solid beat to it. Vessel is basically pleading to sleep to take him further into the dream state, because he feels like he's being followed by sleep, or maybe another spirit of some sort, and he just really wants to go deeper in this to find sleep even more. Again, it's just so elusive. Musically, this is probably one of my least favorite songs. It just doesn't have as much going on within it. It just, I don't know. I feel like this band just does so much. So when they make a song that's a little bit more mellow in terms of their creativity and progression, it just doesn't hit as hard. And that's not to say this is a bad song. It's just amongst the rest in the album, it just didn't really do a whole lot for me. And then we have the song DYWTYLM, which has a bouncy beat and the vocals that are just, again, very out in front of your face. The instruments keep getting added in as this song goes on. The vocals play off the rhythm really well. Again, this is another song that didn't really wow me all that much. It's more of a lyrical based song, and I would say that based within the concept of this album and the lyrics, you really feel a shift in the tone. You really start to see that Vessel's eyes are being opened to just the sleep isn't really all that great, you know, but he's just so deep within this relationship. Rain has a lot of throwback and references to the opening track Atlantic, which is found off of their last album, This Place Will Become Your Tomb, which is an absolutely brilliant track. And this song also picks things up quite a bit, where I thought the album was going to kind of die down just a little bit, become a little bit more mellow, maybe plateau. This song, it does a really good job at building things back up and bringing the energy back up, and it really takes off in verse 2 and mellows back out again in the bridge. And it's so nice to hear Vessel's raw vocals. I feel like a lot of times there's some sort of effect. There's like a tremolo, reverb. There's just, and I don't know, there's just something going on almost every time you hear his vocals. And his vocals are so unique, so it works really well with everything. But it's just nice to just hear it just for what it is in this bridge. And this song they're all kind of roller coasters, but this one feels the most up and down because it's one of the shorter songs on this album, so it just goes up and down a lot quicker. And then we have the title track song, Take Me Back to Eden, where Vessel is basically losing his mind and his rationale, and he's really struggling to find peace from his demons, and he wants to go back to Eden, back to kind of like paradise and bliss, and just, yeah, he really wants to find his peace. This is one of the longest songs. Actually, it is the longest song on this album, coming in at 8 minutes and 20 seconds. It starts off really gentle, very dreamlike. The chorus has like a mystical vibe and it flows so well. And then a fat guitar riff comes in as we get to the refrain. It takes a turn as it goes into verse 2 and becomes really poppy with kind of like a quick, I don't want to say like rap style vocals, but they're definitely a lot quicker. And it keeps going as it goes into the second chorus, while verse 3 basically brings it all back around again to the first verse, where it's a little bit more mellow. It calms down quite a bit more. It takes another turn going into the outro with probably the most aggressive moment on this entire album. And again, this song is basically a roller coaster, but it's 8 minutes long. So the ups and downs are all squished together. And I don't know, most of the time when I do reviews, I dread songs that are over 5 minutes long just because there's so much to take in. But on this song, it went by so fast just because there's so much variety. There's so much going on. You don't even realize that it's basically almost over. It feels like it's still at the beginning. And that brings us to the closing track, Euclid, which basically brings everything back to the beginning of this 3-album journey. It has a light piano piece in the verses with synthy sounding vocals in the refrain. Like I said, they use a lot of strong vocal effects to the point where they don't use any other instruments. Verse 3 has a heavy instrumental breaks in between each line where it kind of disrupts the flow a little bit, but then it kind of keeps it going and it builds up the suspense within this song. And it climaxes in the bridge, which is very blissful. It sounds great. This is a fantastic ending to this album and the story that's going on. Like I said, I feel like this might be the last installment to this concept, but then this whole band is a concept, so who knows. But this journey, it feels like it's come to an end at this point. So there's a lot going on with this album. When it comes to Sleep Token, you don't really know what you're gonna get. Even the singles were just so different from each other, so going into this thing, I had no idea what to expect. First off, I want to say that I dig the production a lot, aside from one aspect of it that I'll get into in a little bit. The vocal delivery is absolutely great, as are the lyrics. There's a lot of metaphors, a lot of throwbacks to past albums. The piano and drums are probably my favorite part of this album. And the story is great. I enjoy it a lot. However, the story seems to show the same struggles in the past albums. So it always, I mean, of course it progresses, but it just feels like Vessel's just singing about the same thing for, if you go over all the albums, almost 3 hours straight. It seems like he doesn't really move past these issues as much. They just progress further and further into it as he gets deeper and deeper into pursuing this deity. My issue with the production falls on the heavier moments on this, the distorted guitars. It makes it feel like they're kind of doing the same thing over and over. Whenever they need a heavy moment, the production's just a little bit too much. The guitar riffs are great, but it's just a little bit too much, to the point where it feels like they're playing the same exact thing that they did last time they need a heavy moment. And I love Vessel's vocals, don't get me wrong, but they can become a little monotone. There's not a whole lot of variety within them, aside from, you know, the distorted moments, but there's not a whole lot of that going on. So they can become a little dull to some. And personally, I didn't really struggle too much with any of these points, but I can't really ignore the fact that they're there, and a lot of people are going to be like, listen to 3 songs, is like, the vocals are the same, I can't do it. All the distorted parts sound exactly the same, I can't do it. People, these issues are still there for a lot of people. So while I loved it, it still has its flaws. So with all that said, I gotta give Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token a 7.9 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. Even though I feel like I gave this a really good rating, there's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to hate me for not giving it a 10 out of 10. And there's going to be a lot of people that are, I don't know, I feel like you can't win. It's going to be a very divided album. So leave a comment below, let me know what you thought of Take Me Back to Eden. Let me know what you would rate it. Let me know what your favorite song is. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. Doing any of that stuff helps me out tremendously. And I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was